Okay, so I'm going to try to go through all this data in the amount of time that I have been given. So if I rush a little through, I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards, okay? So my name is Merarys Rios-Vargas. I work in the Population Division at the Census Bureau. And I'm very excited to be here today at the Hispanic Leadership Summit to present Hispanic origin population results from the 2020 census and the American Community Survey. Because as Claudia said this morning, we need to know our data. I have a lot of information to share with you today, so let's get started. Okay. I would like to set the stage by sharing the latest numbers from the 2020 census that perhaps many of you already know. The Hispanic population grew from 50.5 million in 2010 to 62.1 million in 2020, accounting for 18.7% of the total U.S. population in 2020. The Hispanic or Latino population grew by 23% in 2010, which is 5 times faster than the non-Hispanic population, making it the second largest racial or ethnic group in the country. Slightly more than half of the total U.S. population growth between 2010 and 2020 came from the Hispanic or Latino population growth. This slide shows the Hispanic population in size from 1970 to 2060. And if we look at the light blue bars on the left side of the graph, this represents census counts from 1970 to 2010. In the 1970, the total Hispanic population in the United States was estimated at 9.3 million. And based on our most recent census, as I just mentioned, which is the green bar in the middle, is the Hispanic population grew to 62.1 million. This means that the Hispanic population grew by 568% between 1970 and 2020. The dark blue bars on the right represent projections of the Hispanic population decades from now based on the 2017 projections, using the 2010 decennial as the base population. These projections are based on varying assumptions of fertility, mortality, and net international migration. As you can see, it is projected that the Hispanic population will increase to about 111 million by the year 2060. Before we go into the American Community Survey data, I wanted to share the tools that are available to you. Using our data visualization at census.gov, you can further explore the data with interactive maps and graphics which illustrate the 2020 results in comparisons to 2010. The current slide shows a screenshot of our data viz of race and ethnicity in the United States, which presents racial and ethnic composition and more information of the population size of each racial and ethnic group, the percent change from 2010 and 2020. The bars on the left-hand side shows the 50 states and DC, and it's ordered by percent Hispanic from highest to lowest. This is a percentage example of the county for the state of New York for the 2020 census, and on the next slide you can see it is a percent change data example comparing the 2010 and the 2020 results. The next set of slides are based on the one-year American Community Survey data. And the American Community Survey, many of you may know, is a nationwide survey designed to provide reliable and timely demographic, socioeconomic, and housing data every year. And it goes to about 2.5% of the addresses annually. And the ACS is simply the old census long form that used to be conducted only once a decade with the decennial census. This slide shows the detailed Hispanic origin groups with a population of 1 million or more in 2021, and they're listed by largest to smallest. The Mexican origin population was the largest detailed Hispanic group. This population grew from approximately 32.9 million in 2010 to 37.2 million in 2021. In 2021, Puerto Ricans continue to be the second largest group at 5.8 million. In 2010, Cubans and Salvadorans were close to the same size, but now the Salvadoran population is larger than the Cuban population, placing them as the third largest Hispanic origin group, you guess. In addition, in 2010, Colombians and Hondurans were not part of the 1 million or more list, and as you can see, they are now both over 1 million in 2021. This chart shows the percent distribution for the same detailed Hispanic origin groups that I just presented. And as you can see, people of Mexican origin represented more than half of the total Hispanic population in the US in the year 2021, representing 59.5%. They're followed by Puerto Ricans, Salvadorans, as I just mentioned, Cubans and Dominicans, both at 3.8%. And then as we move down, we see Guatemalans, Colombians, and Hondurans. I want to note that as you can see on the chart, although the Mexican population is the largest pop numerically, the share of the Mexican population has decreased in the last 11 years, while all other groups have increased or have remained the same in percent, or close in percent. Okay, moving on to socioeconomic statistics. For education, what's going on with the Hispanic population? Overall, Hispanics were less likely to hold a high school degree or higher compared to the not Hispanic population. On the other hand, when comparing the trends for the Hispanic population in the past 11 years, we can observe that the educational attainment levels among Hispanics have increased. As I just mentioned, over 2/3 of the Hispanic population, 72.4%, had at least a high school degree in 2021, which is an increase from 62.2% in 2010. Now let's look at the differences within the not Hispanic population when we're accounting for race on the next slide. The slide highlights the percent of each racial or ethnic group, with a bachelor's degree or higher. So from left to right, you see the data for Hispanic and the following alone not Hispanic race groups: white alone, Black or African American, American Indian or Alaska Native, Asian, Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islander, and some other race. And here are some of the interesting findings. When comparing Hispanic male and female populations, we found that in 2021, Hispanic females were more likely to complete a bachelor's degree or higher compared to Hispanic males. When comparing across race groups, we can see that Asian alone males and females were more likely to hold a bachelor's degree or higher compared to all other racial or ethnic groups, followed by some other race and white alone. And American Indian and Alaska Native males were least likely to hold a bachelor's degree or higher within all these groups. This slide shows the occupations for the Hispanic and not Hispanic civilian population aged 16 and over. The not Hispanic population continues to be most likely employed in management occupations, increasing since 2010. In 2010, the Hispanic population were most likely to be employed in service occupations, followed by sales and office occupations. However, there has been a shift over the past decade for the Hispanic population. In 2021, the Hispanic population was more likely to be employed in management occupations, followed by service occupations. While both the Hispanic and not Hispanic were less likely to be employed in construction, I do want to note that Hispanics were consistently nearly double the percent of those working in construction compared to the not Hispanic. This slide shows occupation, but this time we're focusing on the employed male civilian population by Hispanic and not Hispanic. Not Hispanic males were most likely to be employed in management occupations. It's also an increase since 2010, and less likely to work in service occupations. Meanwhile, Hispanic males were more likely to work in constructions, like I mentioned before, followed by production and management. Since 2010, we have seen a decrease in Hispanic males employed in service and an increase of Hispanic males employed in management occupations. This graph shows occupation for the employed female civilian population. Now, not Hispanic females were more likely to be employed in management occupations, increasing also since 2010, followed by sales occupations. Meanwhile, Hispanic females were more likely to work in 3 types of occupations: management, service, and sales and office. I do want to note that the percentage of Hispanic females in service and sales occupations has decreased, and while the percentage in management has also increased. Okay. This slide compares the median household income of the Hispanic population to that of the not Hispanic population broken down by race. And this is specifically for the 2021 inflation adjustment dollars. And it shows for 2010, 2015, and 21. As you can see, Asian households had the highest median household income, all 3 data years, followed by white, NHPI, and SOR households were next. As their median household income, they were pretty similar from each other, followed by Hispanics, and then American Indian households. Okay, so I'm gonna jump to the last slide because of the time, and because I think this is the one that it really kind of takes away. So this slide breaks down the not Hispanic category by race and sex for the data year 21. And there's 3 ways that we can compare here. First, within the racial and ethnic groups, the groups with the largest within-group earning gaps are Asian, followed by white, and some other race. Compared to Asian, white, and some other race, the gap between Hispanic male and female earnings is much smaller. When we look at male-to-male comparisons against the Hispanic male earnings, overall Hispanic males earn less than the majority of the not Hispanic race groups, with the exception of American Indian and Alaska Native males who had similar earnings. And the highest male earners are Asian males, followed by white and some other race. Lastly, we'll focus on the female-to-female comparisons, and the highest earners among females are in the following order: Asian, white, some other race, Native Hawaii, other Pacific Islander, Black or African American, American Indian or Alaska Native, and Hispanic females. Hispanic females' median earnings were significantly lower than all other racial or ethnic groups, male or female, in 21. If there is any data point from this presentation to remember during this conference, is this one right here for you to take tomorrow for your discussion on the Latina equal pay. Thank you.